Welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how to mix vocals in Logic Pro. If you're new here, my name's Streaky. I've been a professional sound engineer for over 25 years, working with some of the world's leading artists, and I'm here on YouTube to help you make your music sound insane. So let's dive into Logic. So I've got a track here that hasn't got any vocals, so what we're going to do, we're going to find a way of getting some vocals, putting them on the track, making them work, and then blending them in so that you know how to do that yourself. Let's have a quick listen to the track that we've made. So very simple dance track. Now let's get some vocals to go with that. So step one is to find the key and the BPM of the track. This track is in F minor and it's 127 BPM. Step two is to jump into Splice, search for vocals, then search by the key. So this one is F minor. And then go in and find dry vocals. Now the BPM isn't essential here. As long as it's within 20 BPM of your initial BPM, that's where you want to be because we can time stretch it. So I found this one which is 126 BPM. It's dry. And so let's have a quick listen to see what this one sounds like.
You told me it's over.
So we'll fit that together with the track. So what I'll do is just download that and then get it into Logic. So inside of Splice app, I can see it's downloaded here, so I'm just going to drag that straight into Logic. I'm just going to label that up to make sure that I know what it is. So I'm going to put that in a nice pink color for vocals, and I'm just going to call that lead vox. So the first thing we want to do is get it in the right time. We know it's 126, so we want to get it to 127. So what we'll do is we'll solo that track and highlight it. So let's turn the metronome on. Let's change the track to that BPM so that we know that it's exactly right before we start doing any time stretching.
You told me it's over. You don't need to see me again. Said you got a new lover.
So we know that's in time. So now we're going to enable flex time so that we can lock this vocal into 126 so that when we move it around it will stay the same. So click on the vocal channel, stick this to the end of the clip, turn flex time on, turn it on for this channel but put it into polyphonic. So polyphonic is the best algorithm for time stretching. So now that we know that works, let's have another listen. It's still got the metronome on.
Told me it's over.
So if I put that to say 200, we'll hear how the rest of the track goes long, as you see, and that stays the same. So let's just listen.
You told me it's over. You don't need to see me again. Said you got a new lover.
So we know that's working. It's quite extreme. So let's go back to the track, which is 127. Let's hear that. Just check it sounds alright.
You don't need to see me again. Said you got a new lover.
Okay, so we're in time. The track's now back in its normal time and this is locked. Let's turn the metronome off. Now we're going to sync this vocal to the chorus of the track, so we need to move it over and then chop it up and get it in the right place because it's in the right time. So let's grab it and move it to roughly where the chorus is. Now there is a little bit of a pre-chorus on this. Let's have a listen and see how it matches up.
You told me it's over. You don't need to see me again.
So it's totally out of time. So let's get the chorus bit matching first. I think the O should go on the beat, so let's hear how that sounds. Okay, that's cool, that works. Now let's listen to the pre-chorus and see how that's sounding.
You told me it's over. You don't need to see me again. Said you got a new lover.
Okay, so they're a little bit out of time, but we know they will go in time. So let's just dupe this track and then we can then chop that out. We know that chorus works, so if we chop out the chorus and then we can just bring that pre-chorus down. So let's move this around so that we can get this working properly.
You told me it's over.
basically that end bit's a little bit dodgy, so we could do with just chopping that end off a tad, and then we'll put some delays on when we get to the point of putting some EQ delays and stuff on. We'll then sort that out. Let's just put a fade on that. You can see me doing that and putting a fade on the in. The reason for doing this is so that you don't get pops and clicks. Sometimes with audio, if it's hanging around, it can just leave a mess basically. So that's just a nice way of tidying it up. And so let's have a quick listen to how that's going in.
Told me it's over. Don't need to see me again. Said you got a new lover. And here's where it ends. Oh.
So just to quickly summarise what we've done there, we've got it into the track, we've got the BPM going with flex time, and then we've chopped up the vocal a little bit so we can move it in time, because it's in time as in BPM, but it's not in time as in on the beat and where we want it. So it's still a very dry vocal, so it's it's still very clean. We haven't added any effects, so let's get into doing that. Let's add some delays on there so that it sort of blends it up a little bit, going from the pre-chorus to the chorus, and then let's get it balanced into the track. To make this easy, let's put it onto one track and delete that one, so we've just got the lead vocal on one place. So to liven the vocal up a little bit and to organise it a touch, we're just going to add a bit of EQ. Now you usually put a low cut on and stuff, but there are some really nice presets within Logic. So let's just start with a female vocal refresh. You can see all the standard stuff's there that's covered. There's always sort of a low cut going on, about 150 hertz. That's to get rid of any boom and sort of really low end. And then you normally put a shelf on the top to open it up and make it, very breathy. This is especially for female vocals. So you can see that's happening here. There's a few other little EQ tweaks, but as you can see, presets are always handy because it's a starting point basically. You can turn them on and off and turn on and off each different part of the EQ to see if it's making a difference to the way you like it to your ear, but it's definitely a starting point rather than starting them fresh every single time. So let's have a little listen to how this sounds with it in and out.
Told me it's over. You don't need to see me again. Said you got a new lover. And here's where it ends. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, oh, oh. 'Cause you made a bed, but you're full of regret.
So you can hear that's opening it up quite nicely. It's a little bit spiky there, so we'll probably put a compressor on it next to hold it together. But as an EQ, it's a great little starting point. We can finesse that as much as we want, but next stage really is to get it so that it gets rid of some of those edgy spikiness that we just heard. So this is Logic's standard compressor. Let's pick the vintage setting to get a little bit of character. Let's select a 3:1 ratio. Let's turn the auto gain off. Then we're going to put the threshold at 0 because we'll be bringing that up as we're listening to the track so that we can see where we need to grab it. So let's move it to the chorus because that's the loudest bit, and just move the threshold as we go. Now let's have a listen.
Oh, 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 oh. Oh, oh, oh. 'Cause you made a bed, but you're full of regret. Oh, 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 oh.
Okay, sounding good apart from the clicks, but we'll ignore those for the moment. Let's just pull that down a little bit so we've got the mix at 60% so that it's not completely saturated in compression.
Oh,
And let's add a little bit of the distortion on there to add a bit more flavour.
oh, oh. 'Cause you made a bed, but you're full of regret. Oh, 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 oh.
So it's still sounding a little bit edgy to me, so let's put some tube EQ on just to warm it up a little bit and give it a little bit of vibe. So here there is a preset called Tube Vocal, would you believe? So let's put that on, let's hear how that sounds.
You told me it's over. You don't need to see me again. Said you got a new lover.
Okay, so that's all sounding nice. We've got the tone right. So let's now move on and put some reverbs and delays on there to really kind of get this nice and wet. Now what we do this, we put this on a bus. So I've selected bus 1 there, and I'm going to rename that reverb. So then you'll see why this goes to a bus in a moment, because it means that we can just throw things into this reverb channel. So there is the chroma verb. So let's just select, there's a preset on here, which is the warm vibes, kind of does what it says on the tin, gets it sounding really nice and warm. So let's play that and hear how that sounds.
You told me it's over. You don't need to see me again. Said you got a new lover. And here's where it ends.
So we don't want that dripping in it at the moment. We want it so that there's some there. It's warming it up. It's making it a little bit less dry. So it's just about getting that balance between soaking wet and kind of nice. So moving on from there, what we want to do is then get up another bus, and then we're going to call this bus delay. And it's exactly the same as what we just did on the reverb channel. We select the delay. So let's go for just standard stereo delay on here. And then go to pick dual 8th note dotted. That will work nicely on this. And then it's...
Told me it's over. You don't need to see me again. Said you got...
So it's good to add a load of it first of all, so that you can hear actually what's going on, and then kind of drop it back as you're, you know, when you played with the feedbacks and you can hear it's how it sounds. Just pull back the delay until you hear that it's sitting just nice. Again, like the reverb, you don't want it, you can really overdo this and really get it kind of dripping wet. You want it to be a lot subtler than you think, I would say. So pull it back and then listen to how that goes.
Told me it's over. You don't need to see me again. Said you got a new lover.
Okay, that's sounding good to me. So another little trick here is to then send some of this delay to the reverb bus. So then what this is doing, it's going to just soak that delayed vocal a little bit in some reverb just to fill out the sound a bit more. So let's throw a bit of that on so you can hear what the effect is.
You told me it's over. You don't need to see me again. Said you got a new lover. And here's where it ends. Oh, 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 oh.
What that does really is just really smoothing the vocal out so that it doesn't just sound really kind of sharp delays. It makes the delay kind of smoother and more natural. So that's why that's a nice trick. So now what I want to do is move on to the lead vocal bit where we've got that little break where we chopped out, if you remember from a while ago now, we chopped a little section out just so it doesn't drop completely. We want to make a feature of that in section. So what we're going to do is dupe this channel and then chop this out so that we can then add a load of delay onto this and get that super soaking wet in delay. And then what will happen is it should then cover that dead space leading into the chorus. So let's try that and let's try and balance off the delay and see how much we can get away with.
And here's where it ends.
So let's just chop it so we just get the end bit. We don't want the whole thing repeating. Now add a little fade there if you remember earlier so that we don't get clicks and pops too much, because otherwise we'll be delaying the pop, which isn't very nice. So for this delay, let's go for an echo, shall we? And a stereo echo at just repeat itself. So let's go for a half note repeater and see how that sounds. Bring the dry down, obviously, just get it quite wet. Let's go for it and see what it sounds like. We can always play around with the levels and stuff.
Got a new lover. And here's where it ends. Got a new lover.
And so there we have it. We've got the vocal cleaned up, sounding good. So the next thing we want to do is make sure the levels are correct. So we're going to balance the vocal against the track. So for this, we want to use a summing stack within Logic. So go right click it and just do create track stack. Then summing stack is what we want. Then that means we can just do the level on one for all rather than having to go in individually and adjust them. So we just colour that up and we'll call that Vox stack. So now a little trick to getting this vocal in the right place is, now we've got it in the stack, put it to 0. Play the track super quietly on your monitors. Now when I say quietly, it's so that you can literally just hear the track playing. And what we're going to do, we're just going to bring the volume in of the vocal stack. We'll do it on the chorus because that's the loudest part. And then as you just hear it just sitting on top of the track, you should be able to hear the whole track, but you'll just hear the vocals more prominently. That's it. That's where you've got the right vocal level. So let's just do that now quietly. Okay, so I think that's right. Now, the thing what you've got here is put it always a touch louder than you think it should be. The reason for this is when it goes off to mastering, that you're going to have a compressor going across the mix bus at the end, and that will bring the vocal down a bit and make it bed in a little bit more. So if it's a pop track or a dance track, something like this, then basically just lift it a tad more than you actually feel it should be. It might feel like it's a little bit loud, but it will come back down when it's mastered. So that's exactly how easy it is to balance a vocal in Logic. Now, if you want to know Logic inside and out, there is a link below for a Logic course that I've made that's no waffle, it's just straight to the point, all the things that you need to know about Logic to get you going as soon as possible. The link is below. Thanks for watching, till next time, don't forget to like it, bye.